Did you know that I do music? My name is Jay. You can call me Jay, J Love, whatever it is, Javon. I am one of the hosts of the Easy Sports Talk Show with Javon Adams and Ed Smith. And so, why don't you go and check that out? MC Sessions, wherever you get music. Go to, if you want to download it, go to jlove.bandcamp.com, jlove.bandcamp.com. But if you stream your music, that's all right too. Go just type in J-LUV MC Sessions. Support your boy. Easy Sports Talk with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. My name is Javon. You can call me Jay or J Love. That man is the one and only Ed Smith. Not only did he play professional baseball, but he also played the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. He is an author. He is a motivational speaker. What is good, my brother?
What up, though, Jay? The trade deadline officially over tonight. I'm glad you kept me on the team, man. You didn't send me elsewhere.
So that's what I want to get into. You know me when it comes to the conversations that we can X and O's is cool, but sometimes I like to get into the psychographics of things, is the why things happen, and just kind of get into your head. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. We do this thing 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So tell a friend about what we have going on here. So kind of the inside the head of an athlete, since I am an MC, just hanging out with athletes. But so definitely want to get into the NFL trade line. Matter of fact, let's get into that first. So the NFL trade line is come and gone, and there were some players that are on the move. We're here in the Phoenix market, so the Arizona Cardinals, they went after an edge rusher. Linebacker position. We see that there were some teams that were a little bit more sellers. If I'm looking at this, some of the teams that were sellers, you look at, Cleveland, they were sellers. You look at, it was interesting, a couple of trades that were made by the Texans. Not that they're sellers, but it's just interesting. I mean, it doesn't, just because you sell doesn't mean that you're opting out. You might be just trying to position yourself for what you feel is a good crop of players or potential players that are coming in. You see that the Saints, they were sellers to a certain extent. But some teams that made some moves were the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Washington Commanders, and the Detroit Lions and such. But instead of getting into the X's and O's of the trade, what I want to get into is, because you've been on teams on both ends of the spectrum, most notably on the positive side when you were with the Atlanta Falcons as you were on your way to the Super Bowl. What's it like in the locker room when the trade deadline approaches? And I know there's more movement these days with the trade deadline as opposed to, I believe, when you were playing. But when you know that you need something, or if you can put yourself in the mind of a player these days, when you know that you're close, it's not curling quite right, and you just need a player or two to maybe give you that injection. What's the psyche like if your team makes a move and it's and you feel that it addresses a need, or if your team doesn't, what does that tell you from a player perspective?
Well, first off, you're absolutely right. It's much more, the trade deadline is much more prominent now. Very little, well, a lot less movement many years ago when I was still playing. It was kind of an afterthought, to be honest with you, because I think teams were kind of afraid to let pieces go, even. And then obviously some of these contracts of today and how they're finagled, now it's more advantageous for teams to dump and try to get under salary caps and start thinking about the next year before next year even gets here. So that's some of the things that have changed today. What hasn't changed is the overall psyche of the trade deadline. When a team feels like they need something, first things first, it's almost like, for the players, we look internally like, what do we do wrong? Hey, ain't we good enough? Especially if
I like to get a promotion. What you trying to go and hire outside the company for? I like to be the manager.
And especially if the rumors are about your particular position, it's like, guys, hey, we need some more help on the offensive line. The offensive linemen, all of a sudden, they're like, what's wrong with us? And, so it is a little bit, it's a shock to the system. I don't think anybody should be offended. I mean, in today's game, we're always trying to upgrade. Teams are always trying to upgrade, get better pieces if they can. And in some instances, you know what's not working. If you're close, there's a reason why it's just not quite curling. And everybody
Yes,
knows
sir.
it's sometimes that one little piece of hair, right, Jay? It's much you hear all day long. You try to get it, and you try to comb it, try to twirl it, and it's just not quite. Everything else look all good and sheening,
Right.
and
Got the
and
waves going and
yeah,
everything, but it's that
and
one thing in
just
the
one
back
little
of yeah.
piece, and it's like,
Yeah.
what do you cut it off, or do you maybe do something? You got to wear the wave cap a little longer. I don't know what it is, something. So for the most part, it's out of necessity. Now, what the good organizations try to do, they try to keep that stuff as quiet as possible for as long as possible, because one, if you have a good team and things are going well, even though you want them to go a little better, you don't want to rock the boat too much. You don't want anybody in the because a lot of these trades, like teams are out there, you got to remember there's 32 teams, so you might be close to getting a deal. You don't want that stuff getting out there, because now all of a sudden it falls through, and it's almost like we've all been there before. You dating somebody long time ago, long time ago, and
Right.
the word on the street is, he's out there trying to find something a little better, and all of a sudden it don't come through, and you got to go, and to face the music, and it's like, it's like, hey, I don't know where you heard that from. I don't know. He talking all kind of mess. I don't know what he talking about. And so you try to keep everything as calm as possible.
Yeah.
And then when the trades happen, they happen, and boom. I don't know if you noticed, I was traded during my baseball days. I was a mid-season trade from the White Sox to the Brewers for a player to be named later and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was, when it happens, bro, I mean, it's, to be the tradee is, initially it's like, wow, because, I was born and raised up in this organization, played there all these years. Then all of a sudden, boom, just like that. Hey, Ed, I need to see you in the office. And, you've been dealt to such and such, and that's it. That's even a shock to the system. Now, a lot of these guys, when we're talking about the NFL trade deadline, these guys they're like campaigning to get the heck out of X, Y, or Z, because it's
walking by the coach's office. Hey, man, if you need somebody to trade, I'm just saying I wouldn't want to go, but I'll go. I'll go.
Hey, Detroit, yeah, I like Detroit. They got good food up there, That's, and you in Tennessee or wherever it is,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's there are guys, and for the most part, guys they want to get out of there, especially when they know their contract situations and stuff like that. It's easy, So, but there are trades that will blindside some guys because they weren't, they were like, damn, thought I was happy here, and I was looking toward the future. I know the season's not going well, but I thought we had a good thing, and I was part of this. And boom, just like that, you're shuffled out. And then the other thing is, when you get the new blood in to the organization that made the trade for, it's like I said, now it's like, new competition in the room. Where now we want to embrace him, but at the same time, they made a trade for a reason. He's gonna be stealing some of your snaps and this, that, and the other. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
We all know it's a business. You ain't too far gone. This is a business. And you gotta put your big boy pants on sometime, man. And you gotta greet the dude that might be, stepping into your spot and stuff like that. And that also comes along with being released and all that kind of stuff. So many different things that can happen. This is just another part of the game that, if you're not prepared for it, if you're not paying attention, it could hit you over the head. But for the most part, guys, we understand it's a business. When somebody comes in, you try to greet him and, acknowledge, hey, he's here to help us, might light my load a little bit. You hope you're here long term. Now, the bad part about some of these trades, they bring somebody in, somebody got to go.
Yeah.
That's when it gets dicey, because everybody starts sitting around and you see dudes like counting their fingers, like maybe 1, 2. We normally keep 4 at this position. Now all of a sudden we got 6, and yeah, and you start doing the math, and it's like, well, somebody got to go, and but it is what it is, bro. And
Yeah.
in the trade deadline, I think they did a good thing by pushing it back
Yeah.
further to give teams an opportunity to be a little further into the season to realize, hey, because some teams years ago with it being even just a week or so earlier, some teams would have pulled triggers, early because the deadline's coming and we got done. But even at 3 and 4 or something like that, they're still in it. Now they're 4 and 4, right in the mix. So they held on to players and maybe not dealt because the deadline is pushed a little further back. So, I think it was, for the the NBA deadline. I mean, they just wheel and deal. Whereas here is not as you get a nice like small sampling of players being dealt, but I think it's the teams that needed help got it. There's a couple of the head scratchers like the Cowboys. It's like, what are you guys thinking? You're 2-7 or 2-6 or whatever it is, and who? I mean, what are you trying to keep afloat over there with Dak, possibly being out for several weeks? That just shows even more dysfunction when you look at a team that should be selling and they're buying. That just shows even more dysfunction over there in Dallas. But the good teams get it right. They know exactly what they need. Detroit, they needed an edge or somebody, more defensive line help. They go out and make the deal with the Browns, and we have some other good deals as well. But now that's all done, and now you settle in for the long haul to finish out the season. We're basically at the halfway point now, and teams are going to be pushing forward from this point forward. So it is what it is.
I want, before we get off of this and I get on to the next my next thought. What is your thought, just from a former athlete's perspective, on guys that are, maybe there's two part to this question, guys that have been with a team that's been underperforming for a long time and for the entirety of their career, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, that want to stay with an organization that has been underperforming, and they're the ones that get so upset. Do you ever think? Do you ever get? Does it hit you in the wrong way when player X has been with this team that's been underperforming, they get traded and they say, well, I never wanted to leave, and they just so tied to a losing organization?
That's all about being comfortable, and sometimes getting too comfortable in the losing environment or the bad environment, I should say. Change can be a shock to the system.
Yeah.
And for guys who've been, and let's just be honest, let's talk about the Cowboys. They walk around beating their chest off. It's all about the star. It's all about, they haven't won a title in 30 plus years, since the mid 90s. But yet they consider themselves the class of the NFL. They've got no discipline over there. They know that the star players can run to their owner and cry on his shoulder. He's going to stand up for them because he has weak coaching staffs and stuff like that. These guys get used to this stuff. They can go talk to Jerry anytime, the big ones, big time guys, go talk to Jerry anytime they want. And basically it's like telling on, a teacher or something like that, and, you can't talk to me like that. I'm going to go, and it's like, so they get comfortable with that stuff. Meanwhile, you go to other organizations and here's the thing, Jay, guys talk about what, the off season, guys goes on trips together. You got, family and friends on other teams, guys you went to school with, same college and stuff like that. And everybody compares notes. What's it like over there? And bro, it ain't no joke. There's no nonsense. When you're held accountable. If you ain't doing your job, you could be on the street tomorrow. And other dudes are like, well, I ain't like that over here. It's all comfortable, bro. Anytime I want to go talk to Jerry, I just go up and talk to Jerry. He ain't even Mr. Jones. It's Jerry to me. That type of thing. And, guys said, man, that's weird. That's whack, But, guys get comfortable with where they're at, regardless of whether they're winning or losing. What's happening each week, Jay? That paycheck's coming in. And they can care less. For the most part, they're guys who they would like to win, but it's not a prerequisite. Man, as long as I get paid, and especially if I'm getting paid well, I'm good, and I don't want to go somewhere where they're going to make me actually, be awake in meetings and listen to somebody. I got somebody ride my ass. Come on, dog. I like it right here where I'm at. And, like I said, it's, and that's why sometimes it's a shock, because some guys get traded or go to another organization and they find out how real and how different it is in other places. I had to adjust, as a free agent all the time, I had to adjust from organization to organization. I've told you the stories about my quick stop in Cleveland and the little Napoleon up there, and but at the same time, I played for other coaches, and I was like, damn, how did he get this job? He's not what I would call a leader of men, but and I'm not gonna name any names, but I played for some that were just, man, that dude I knew early on. That was, and then also I played for one of the greats of my life, Coach Dan Reeves. So I played for different organizations and coaches, different stages, and then I throw the baseball days in there as well. I played for a bunch of different managers and heads of minor league operations and stuff like that. So I've seen good and bad leadership, and I knew when I was happy somewhere, but I always knew, hey, happiness is the next phone call if I get let go from here, and the next week's paycheck when I'm playing on a roster somewhere. So some guys have it differently, obviously, because they can plan their futures out accordingly, because they're billion dollar babies almost sometime.
Right.
But it's different. Like I said, it's really different from one organization to the next.
Easy Sports Talk Show. He's Ed Smith, and I'm Javon Adams. We do this thing again 3 times a week, but we also do another podcast. It's called Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. Again, Believe in the Arizona Cardinals, part of the Believe Network, and that is on Mondays and Thursdays. Make sure you tell a friend. If you're not an Arizona Cardinals fan, make sure you share that with an Arizona Cardinals fan. They can just search Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. That's BLEAV in the Arizona Cardinals, wherever you find your podcast.
The 5-4 first place Arizona Cardinals, bro.
5-4 first place, and we cannot forget that. So
one more thing. Don't forget, Believe in the Arizona Cardinals is brought to you by who?
Bet Online.
There you go.
There you go. So the last thing I want to talk about is the Joel Embiid situation from more of a macro, from more of a macro level. There was and he's suspended for 3 games for shoving or having an altercation with a reporter. The reporter ended up writing a story, kind of maybe touching on some sensitive areas about Joel Embiid's son and his brother who passed away in an auto accident. And so from the things that I've researched, this particular journalist is that guy that in that city, and the reason I'm wanted your thoughts on this is because you've been in the clubhouses and the locker rooms in different cities. So oftentimes there's that journalist that's the one that's going to point, that's going to kind of point at try to irritate you, the irritant journalist. And Joel Embiid wasn't having it. And now you've been in kind of a media kind of role and seeing how we try to do things. You and I, we don't try to be adversarial. We just try to, have a good time and being able to point out what we see. But I can imagine, or I'm curious, have you been on that side where a journalist was trying to poke you? And what are your thoughts on Joel Embiid taking it to that level and letting it get to him, not only visibly, but obviously physically?
It's a great question too, and I'll give you the kind of as a minor league baseball player in some of these small towns. You got to remember this was late 80s, early through the mid 90s when I played baseball. This is when newspapers were still a thing.
Yep.
So it wasn't all about, now everybody does a story to get it online as soon as possible and the whole world can see it and stuff like that. There was beat media when I played baseball where every day, and you talk about even in the minor leagues, some of the cities we played in, we were the biggest story in town. I mean, some of these Midwestern towns and stuff like that. Baseball season, we had beat writers that followed us. And, said we played, 150, 160 games. They were there for every home game, and some of them traveled on the road to get their stories and stuff like that. So I was involved in, obviously my football career. I had some features and stuff done on me, but I was never followed by the beat writers, meaning the guys who were there every week for their story from one week to the next.
Right.
those guys were chasing the big names around. But I did experience it when I was younger, in some of the smaller cities. And, you go through your good streaks and everything's good and they want to be all up under you. Man, you playing great right now. What do you think the prospects are? They will call you up soon. Blah, blah. And then there were times when you were playing bad and, now they first ones that you allow, you can't even get out of the training room. They're already up, 3 or 4 of them sitting there with their pads ready to go. And that can be a little irritating. And what I used to see as a professional football player, I was the guy that had the locker usually next to the guy that everybody wanted to talk to. So,
Okay.
I'm just trying to get in and out and get changed. And meanwhile, you got 30 guys surrounding this particular guy. And, and it can, when it can be nerve-wracking and also a pain in the ass to be a superstar sometime because your critique sometime down to the minute issue. And, basketball is just like baseball. It's 82 game schedule. These guys are in and out of cities. They're up and down as far as, droughts during the season where things are going great. Things are going well, but then they'll change and they go bad. And then there's all the stories out there. I mean, it's crazy how, and now everything is instantaneous. Now before the guys would write a story and it would be out in the local paper and some of it would be picked up by the national press or maybe, what was the one paper everybody used? USA Today. Yeah, USA Today. So you had stories that would get out, but most of the time it was somebody picking up a paper on the way to get on an airplane or something like that. Now the second something happens, you got 50 reporters waiting for Joel or whoever it is, and I'm not gonna say he did himself any favors. You play in the Olympics, and then the season's just ready to start, and all of a sudden, not only am I not ready to play, but when I am ready to play, I'm not even playing back to backs. Just want to let you guys know that. And everybody's like, wait a minute. So what was that all about? And, you're always talking about bringing a championship here and you're not even going to start the season. So they jump on him. And then, I think he makes a mistake. There are certain cities that you don't call out the fans Philly is one of them. Yeah. I don't care who you are. Like you start making the statements like everything I've done for this fan base, to hell with them. But man, Philly, I mean, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. That ain't, and I'm telling you, ain't no joke. I've seen them people throw batteries. They don't care who you are. Yeah. You really, until you brought a championship to that city, your stature you're still rookie status.
Or it depends on how hard. If you just put your head down and you play as hard as possible, because when you think of Allen Iverson or some
Overcomer,
like that, yes,
Iverson took a team that shouldn't even been in the playoffs, let alone to the finals. He's a legend there. He'll never buy a cheesesteak in his life in Philly. Okay. But there's some dudes, they're like, wait a minute, we've been waiting for how long? With the process? What the hell is the process? You processing unemployment checks or what? Because you obviously ain't playing right now. Yeah. So for Embiid, you can say he has a right because maybe certain things are off limits as far as what reporting, and maybe the guy, I haven't dug too deep into it, but maybe the guy went a little overboard talking about his deceased brother. And and I think part of it is sometimes it's the way things are phrased. It's like, wouldn't you want your brother and your son to be proud of you? Shouldn't you be? There's certain things you just don't say. At the same time, Embiid has to have thicker skin than that because it's one of those things where you kind of open yourself up a little bit. If you were out there giving everything, which he does when he's playing, sometimes I'm like, that dude, man, out there dragging them, that big body up and down the court. And it's like, that's just so laborsome. People have no idea what it takes. When you're a kid and you're playing ball, Jay, it's all fun. When you're at the professional status, and I've been there, when it takes everything you have to get up and perform, and then to have the spotlight on you, and then people dogging you out, because
Ooh,
you lose and you don't get out of this round, and every time you turn around, he's yet to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But and that always to be brought up, it can wear on you a little bit.
okay.
At the same time, you brought this on yourself when there's huge contracts, and then like I said, you have to make decisions sometime. And he never should have played in the Olympics. That's
Yeah.
when he should have never played in the Olympics. Took that
Mhm.
whole summer to dedicate to getting his body right, lose some weight, let everything heal a little bit, get ready for the season. But when you go and show like that, and then you come back, and then even throw another thing out there, he was like a hired assassin basically, because he was bartering with, well, who am I going to play for? He had options. I might go over and play for France. And he eventually chose the U.S. because he knew that was the best chance of getting a gold medal. But at the same time, it's like, where were we? And the Philly fans are asking, where were we in your thought process during the summer when you was out there gallivanting around,
Hmm.
and then the season starts, and not only, like I said, not only are you not going to play to start the season playing, but when you do come back, you just informed us, I'm not playing back to backs. I just want y'all to know that. And then the fans are like, whoa, what are we paying you all this money for? And then that's when the reporters, this is like, I mean, that's like roadkill for reporters, bro. When they're
Right.
looking for stories,
Yeah.
Joel Embiid basically, I mean, he just, people driving and they throwing French fries and stuff out the window, and pieces of burger and stuff. Them all on vultures, bro. They're like, that's not dead meat. That's real, that's food. Birds attack that stuff.
Yeah.
So he allowed himself to be opened up like that. And just because you don't like what they're saying doesn't give you the right to then go put your hands on somebody.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I do feel for him in terms of some of the things that are written. But like I said, you got to have thicker skin, and you got to know when you're making all that money and you are the focus. They're going to sometimes say things you don't like, and you don't get to choose sometimes, what the story is. And like I said, he's in a bad place right now, because even when he does come back, he's got to perform at such a high level, especially if he's taking days off and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this already doesn't look like, they bought Paul George over there. This already doesn't look like a championship season. You might just add one more onto the list of season failures for Joel Embiid, and it's not going to get any easier. And them fans are not going to let him off the hook as well.
Yeah, and they're gonna, and especially when you get a reaction from somebody who you're trying to troll, or you're trying to get a response from, and they give you the reaction after you say a certain thing. Now and I can only imagine those fans, because Philadelphia is not winning, and yeah, and plus he's not going to be playing, and that's 3 additional
Yeah,
games that he won't be playing, and so all those things kind of bubble to the top. So it's going to be something definitely that we'll keep our eye on.
yeah, it's
All right.
crazy, man.
All right, so he is Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams, easysportstalk.com. Make sure you go to easysportstalk.com. You can get you can watch the YouTube video. You can also listen to the audio, or however you're listening to this. Make sure you continue to do that. Share it with a friend. Comment, rate as high as you can. It definitely helps. And you can also go to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Easy Sports Talk
Can I
Show.
say one
Again,
more thing?
yes, sir.
Man, people need to get out there and check out MC Sessions, man. When I tell you, you put your foot in it, you put your foot in it. And, you always told you earlier, we started the show, you were talking about how, you like to dive behind the curtain of an athlete and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love talking to you about music when I like even talking to you about sports, because of your background and what you've done and accomplished. And then when I hear and see your work, I mean, it just, I'm proud of you, man. Keep
I
up the great
appreciate
work,
it.
and I hope everybody continues to support.
I appreciate it, and we'll leave it on that note. So, as we always like to say around that time, you can